All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Generation Me. I'm your host, Quentin Wimberly.
And I'm your other host, Keanu Perez Wimberly.
And today we'll be talking about how cultural shifts and social media have changed modern day relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic. Would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I guess the first topic that I'll go over is cultural shifts and individualism. I think that right now there's this big push and this big movement, at least in my generation, right? Which is Gen Z. And that's all about being like fulfilling for yourself, all about doing things for yourself and caring about yourself only. And I do think that it is important to keep in mind that, yes, yourself should come first always, right? Health, career, all that stuff, that's important. But there's a certain limit where it becomes excessive and you start to forget about others. And it really makes any relationship, platonic or actually romantic, it makes it have less meaning because you're so caught up in what you want and what you doing. It becomes a me, not a us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in some regards, me is important, but you also got to keep in mind in any relationship, it has to be symbiotic. It can't be parasitic. Pops, what do you have to say about that?
I agree with you. I do think people have a tendency to think about what a relationship can do for them only instead of what they can do to improve the person in which you're trying to get into a relationship with, whether it be friendships or romantic partnerships. You still should think about, okay, I know what I want. I have my list of things that I want a person to provide for me, but what in turn should I provide for them? If you spend most of your time writing this amazing dream list of the man or woman that you want, um, but less time developing who you are as a person, you actually be a hollow person. So that person can be everything you want, but then the question becomes, why would they want you? You know why you want them, but why should they want you? And if the only answer to that question is, oh, because I'm me, or because I'm him, or because I'm her, you're saying nothing. You're actually it's no different than saying because I said so. You should be working on yourself. You should understand that in a relationship, it is a give and take. The reason why my son said symbiosis versus parasitic relationship is because a parasite takes from their host, and typically there's very few, if any, positive parasitic relationships. So if a person is constantly taking from you, they're gaining while you're draining, right? But being symbiosis, if I take one from you, you take one from me, we're never going to be empty, and that's platonic or romantic. And right now, there's such a big push on how you want to be perceived instead of thinking about how it makes your partner feel or how it make your friend feel. And I do think that social media, and we'll talk about that later, has played a significant part in that, but also just in society in general. We praise people for things for their accomplishments, not realizing for every famous person we see, there's a team behind it. For every LeBron James, there's a Gloria James. You know, for every Kim Kardashian, I know it's controversial, but her mom was the matriarch that set everything up. There's always someone behind the scenes helping that person become who they are. And when we get back to realizing that we need people in order for us to survive and to thrive, we're gonna keep having these hollow relationships.
Yeah, and to kind of hone in on the idea about symbiosis versus parasitic, I think that an important thing is for all of us and for those of you that are watching to really consider all your relationships that you have in your life, from family, friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives. I think it's important that you guys try to figure out if your relationship is symbiotic or if it's more parasitic. As I've gotten older, I've realized that even something like family is just a blood tie. That doesn't mean nothing. To me, how do you act? How do you treat me? Are you there when I need help? Am I there when you need help? All of that stuff. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people have just kind of forgotten about, and we're honestly letting these things happen. And a lot of people don't know how to let go. And first you have to realize, but some people realize and they don't let go of the situation, and they think that it'll just magically get better, when that's not how it works. Sometimes in our lives we have people that may be more of a parasite than anything, but they don't actually realize that. So you have to take the accountability of being that person who holds the mirror up and is like, hey, you've been doing this X, Y, and Z. I feel like it's more, you're taking more from me than you're giving. And that's real grown talk that has to be had. And not a lot of people like to shake the boat, as my pops likes to say. And you know that's just comes with adult maturity, and knowing that, hey, when to let things slide and when not to let things slide. What do you got to say, pops?
I agree with you. First, I'd like to apologize for the background noise. We're really close to the
The Miramar
MCAS
air.
Miramar base, the military base. So you hear a bunch of jets flying around in the background. So we apologize for the background noise. But the show's going to proceed on no matter what. First and foremost, my son is correct. I do think a lot of this can be helped with people acting like adults. I think we have a whole bunch of grown children walking around and pantomiming as adults. They think that age makes you adult, but to me, it's age plus maturity plus actually putting that experience into practice that makes you an adult. So a lot of people walk around here and they beat their chest. They act like children. You tell them something about themselves and they get mad. The whole point of a relationship, the whole point of any type of relationship, whether it's personal, professional, is to have criticism, proper communication, and constructive criticism being the meat and potatoes of the relationship. If I'm doing something that upsets you, but you never tell me, I'm going to continue to do it. It's going to continue to erode your emotions, and eventually that relationship is going to dissolve. So it makes sense for you to say, hey, what you did, what you said, how you did this affected me. And the other person to be receptive to it, because if they truly care about you, they'll be receptive to how you're feeling. So you take that criticism and say, okay, how important is that person to me? Because if a person's not important to you, I'm not saying you should do this, but if a person's not important to you, then what they say really don't matter. But if you use the word like friend, if you use the word like brother, sister, best friend, cousin, all these different titles, if any of those words have meaning, have impact, then what that person says to you should matter. And so for me, I think that in order for us to get back to having meaningful, impactful relationships, we have to be open to be truthful with one another, to let someone know that they're not it, they're not the shit. Forgive my language, but you have to tell people the truth. Everybody is not her. Everybody is not him. Everything you do is not amazing. So to me, I think we need to go back to having meaningful dialogue, meaningful expectations, and work hard at cultivating the relationship, because it starts at home. You build it here, and it circulates outwards. If I can't even create the proper environment for my personal relationships, and if I can't tell people in my personal life how I feel, there's no way in hell I can do it on the outside. There's no way. A lot of our skill set with communication and criticism, it starts when you're very young. It starts when you're older. That's why I think parents, not to get off topic, I think parents should start being open to their kids discussing things. That doesn't mean the kids should just tell a parent what to do, but ask that kid what his opinion is, or his or her opinion is, and then take it into consideration. Because if you prevent your child from speaking up for themselves as they grow as an adult, they'll think that it's okay for them to be quiet when things are not preferable to them.
Yeah, you definitely said a lot, and I think that it's important to consider all of those things. I think that we have a lot to work on, as this new generation, as us, right, Gen Z, and moving forward. We have a lot to work on. Our next segment is the technologies and social media, which again, that ties into this new generation, right? We have dating apps, we have Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. I mean, iMessage, everything under the world, everything under the sun. All these different platforms, and let's get into how do these platforms, how do these social medias, how do these technologies, how do they interrupt and how do they make our new age relationships, platonic and or romantic, how do they make them less meaningful?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, do some housekeeping. Like when we say generation, we don't just mean my son's age, 20-year-olds and teens, or even early 30s. When we say generation, we mean anyone currently living in today's era. Because even people in my generation, the late 30s, 40s, 50s, we use social media, we use dating apps. So when we say generation, we mean contemporary people living in today's time. And so now to segue back to what we were saying about social medias and technologies, I do think taking away that peer-to-peer, person-to-person interaction, it has caused a steep deviation and how we view relationships. I think at one point you had to work up the courage, work on your addiction, like how you speak, work on even as corny as it may be, pickup lines when you're approaching girls from a male, heterosexual male to female interaction. You have to have like a segue or icebreaker. You have to come up with those. They weren't just available. You got to come in on her shoes, or the venue you're at, or some corny behind line just to get her attention. Now on like Hinge and Bumble and all these relationship apps, you're swiping pictures. It's not they have a profile, but you're looking at the visual first, and no matter what that profile says, if the person is fine enough, you're gonna swipe. Was it right or left?
So
I think it's right. So you're gonna swipe right, and and then you'll hit them with especially guys. You'll say, "Hey, how you doing, beautiful?" Very generic things you probably sent to 1,000 other females, and it's like if you get rejected, it's kind of like whatever. I have 100 more girls that's in my DMs, so it cheapens the interaction. If I know for a fact that I like this girl and I'm interacting with this girl, I'm gonna try my best to put my best foot forward. But if I knew I had like 10 other girls waiting, I can half-ass it. And I think technology allows us, it tricks us into believing that we have all this time and all these chances, when in fact we don't, because the other person on the other side of that app has to also pick up what you're putting down. And so for me, I think it's okay in a vacuum, but I do think the overworld face-to-face interactions is greater, and we need to balance face-to-face and technology and not just let social media run amok, because as we know, people can be whoever they want to online. You can filter things out. You can cinch in the ways. You can, say you have a degree in this, and you can look up all kind of stuff. You can have your whole profile doctored. But face to face, when we're having a conversation, either you can speak and we can converse, or you're boring and it's going to be awkward. So what you got to say about that?
You definitely covered most, if not all, the ground in this segment. I think that, again, like, the issue is a lot of people believe they have so many alternatives at the tip of their fingers. And again, when you have quote unquote options, you tend to not give what you got right now your all, your best effort, your best foot forward. Because in the back of your head, even though you may not be thinking it, deep down, it's, if this doesn't work out, I can just go get the next thing, right? And with social media and posting and people posting their lives, posting, being outside,
Oh yeah.
whatever the case is, it just creates this image of a certain lifestyle that one must quote unquote live. And again, that's another thing. A lot of people will look at someone's life on Instagram, Snapchat, any platform, and be like, that's the life I want to live. And if they realize that they're not living that life, now they're unfulfilled. Now they start looking at their partner, their friends, and being like, oh, you guys aren't cool enough, or you guys are not good enough. I should be doing this, doing that. So it all ties into one. But again, just at the end of the day, you just have to realize that what you have is enough. And if it's not enough, you can always make it enough, right? You can always work on specific things. If you feel unfulfilled with your friends or your, personal romantic relationships, figure out if there's ways to work on what you're unfulfilled in. And if you really can't come to a conclusion, then it might be time to go ahead and find new friends or find a new romantic partner. But it's that trying part that people don't do no more. They don't
Yeah.
they don't want to put in that work. They don't want to put in that effort. And I think right here is a good transition to our next segment, which is about burnout and just being busy with life and our how our personal lives, what we do, like work, school, any side hustles, how those things make us tired, and how those things can maybe potentially play a role in kind of how we operate.
Yeah. I thank you for that segue. I love how you work that in. But you're correct. I do think we are in the not twilight. I would say we're very much in the era of the hustle culture, from for people having like multiple different side jobs, from people scamming people. I mean, be it as it may, scamming is definitely a hustle. People are trying to find ways to circumvent their income, all the time, and that eats up free time. So we already have to work 8 hours plus just to survive in this modern era where where rent prices are $2,000 for a one bedroom, one bath, 200 square feet, box, and car prices are $10,000 a month for a 2021 Kia Sorento. So it's ridiculously priced. It's crazy how expensive things are. So people spend so much of their time working their 9 to 5, then coming out and doing a hustle. And Lord forbid if you have kids. So now you don't even have the effort, the energy to even date someone. So now when a person comes, half baked, talking to you, the ladies can probably attest to this. You're coming home, your feet hurt, you're stopping by to get gas, and you leaving the gas station, and you hear, "Hey, little mama," and you're like, "Boy, get out my face! Like, why the hell are you talking to me? I'm trying." Like, it makes you upset. So you're already in a good mood. So typically, if the person had adequate time, adequate energy, the bank account looking real nice, the living situation is really good, you tend to be at ease, which is why you see a lot of people who are self-made, wealthy people. And I'm talking about the NBA, NFL, entertainment guys. I'm talking about the guys built businesses or doctors or whatever case may be. When they get to that retirement age or whatever, it's kind of like they move through life with ease, even though they have their own problems. They may be going through. They still have this ease in which they move through life. They tend to, smile more, have more leisure time. And that's what we're missing. Like, people always say the 1950s, oh, let's get back to the 1950s. The woman stay at home, the man works, and all the good stuff. But unless you're making like what, 150, 200,000,
If not more.
if not more, you can't do that. You're not doing that. You're not able to do that. So it eats up that patience, that free time that you would normally use to build those constructive relationships. So I think that financial discipline, and this for younger kids, because older people like myself, we're trying to figure it out. But younger kids, like my son's age or younger, be smart, be purposeful with your movements. Your job, or if you decide to go the education route, choose the degree that's going to get you the money to allow you to have to be able to live. Because a lot of us are stuck in survival mode, and we need to live. Because once you can live, then you can start building those relationships. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, as a person who is a full-time college student, I'm now in the second half of my college, so I'm a junior in college, um, where things start to pick up a lot more, and I'm a full-time worker. Um, it just makes everything. As I always say, I don't have oxygen. It feels like I don't have oxygen. I don't have time. I don't have the space. I don't have the energy. We all know that friendships and relationships, it's time, energy, effort, and money. Those right there are the big, I call them the big four that go into having any type of relationship with anybody out here. And I don't have that. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the effort, and shit. In some regards, I ain't got the money for it. And it's like, it's it's just difficult. It's difficult because, like you said, when a person's tired, they don't want to be bothered. They just want to go. They want to leave, go home, sleep. It just makes a lot of things just more transactional, more like quick, quick, right? And also, like, in relationships, you guys know that there's a lot of energy that's put into it.
For sure.
Arguments,
For sure.
disagreements, considering one another's feelings. When I'm tired, I'm considering laying on that damn bed. I'm not considering anyone's feelings. I'm not considering anything. And so when we get to that burnout point, it's just kind of, everything is just going to be quick. Everything's just going to be not deep, very surface level stuff.
Yep.
Because I don't have that mental energy to put in. And honestly, and I'm sure you guys can agree, having 2 days off is not enough. I think that society should move to a 4-day, 3-day type of thing, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, what my old man said, I agree. It's a lot that goes into it. And I think that's why a lot of people, especially the people that have it figured out and have their own things, they get into this mindset where it's like, everyone knows it's difficult to make something of yourself. Everyone knows it's difficult to have your own things. So when people attain these things and they attain it by themselves, quote unquote, and don't have no one, they often start to say, I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need a man, I don't need a woman. And it's that mindset that they get into because they did things on their own. They just automatically assume that just because I did it on my own doesn't means that I don't need nobody. And that's another thing too. That's a whole nother culture that's been going on. But, that's just a whole nother topic of conversation. What do you have to say, old man, if you want to transition to the next one soon?
So no, I just want to harken back what you were saying about people. Once they start getting into that the grind, as they call it, they start attaining things. They think that the more they gain, the less they need in terms of a social friend outing relationship aspect. And what you will find with people with actual money who are alone, they actually feel more and more lonely. No matter how many cars you buy, no matter how many houses you buy, without someone to share it with, be it kids or family or friends or a significant other, is going to feel hollow. A 10 bedroom, 5 bath house is already huge, but a 10 bed, 5 bath house by yourself is even more huge. So I do think that we need to get out of that whole thing saying we don't need nobody. I think most people understand that you don't need a person, but I promise you, you would rather have that person when something go down. If you're making all this money, but you randomly get sick, or you, Lord forbid, you get cancer or something like that, and you can't make that money anymore, it'll be nice to have that person by your side, helping you through the ups and the downs. Society got here because people needed, men, women, they needed each other. They banded together and created something that pushed us forward. Now magically, now we have the society we have. We think we don't need anybody, and that's good, and everything that we do want, we can just buy it. Well, relationships they're not supposed to be transactional. They're supposed to be beneficial, but not necessarily transactional. Because if you're paying me to be your man, I'm only gonna, the minute that money is not enough anymore, I'm gonna dip out. Or when I find somebody that's beneficial, I'm gonna leave that transactional relationship alone. Because at the end of the day, whether you want to admit it or not, we all crave validation. We all crave companionship.
Yeah. And again, you bring up really good points, and I think that it's just a lot of these things we're saying. It just goes in one ear and out the other for most people and a lot of people.
Until they hit that wall.
And I will say, the idea of burnout and the idea of just not having time to really soak everything in, it plays a role in even our next subject, which is shifting expectations. And the thing about it is, nowadays, people don't want to be inconvenienced. And the minute that they're inconvenienced, they dip out. And the reason being is, again, a person who's already agitated, who's burnt out and all that, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want none of that. They want it to just be perfect all the time. And old man, I'm going to let you go ahead and build off of that.
Yeah, so expectations is always interesting, because I'm not in the business of telling someone they shouldn't have expectations. I 100% believe a person should have expectations. I think it's very important. You expect things from your kids. You expect things from your job. I expect my car that I bought. If I bought a 2025 car, I expect it to run. I expect it to work for me for a significant amount of years. So having expectations are important. However, when it comes down to a relationship, whether it's platonic or romantic, those expectations that you have, they must be in line with what you give. And I'm not saying that you can't shoot for the stars or whatever the case may be, but you have to understand that the higher your expectations are, and where that person or friend may be, up here is where you want to be, and that person that's up there has different expectations than what you have down here. So if I'm up here and I have these high lofty expectations, and you get up there and you're looking for me, and I get to you, I start talking to you, and you don't meet anything that I need or want or desire, I'm just gonna cast you down, cast you back down. And that's the thing about it. Like, and to make that make sense, to bring it home in a way, let's talk about expectations in relationships. I see a lot of these new shows, Pop the Balloon or whatever the case may be, and people get eliminated because of height. I'm 6 feet. My son's 6'2". Me being 6 feet, yeah, I might be taller than the average man, but it does nothing for you truly. It doesn't correlate with anything. Like, statistically speaking, it doesn't correlate to anything. And I'm from the South. I don't see 6'2", 6'3" guys get dog walked by guys 5'8" and 5'9". So just because you 6 feet don't mean you can be a good protector either. So we have these arbitrary things like, oh, even six figures, right? Making six figures, that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work. Trust me, it's a lot of work. And so you want a person to make six figures, but if you're also burning six figures, you're not really earning anything. A person can make $70,000 a year and have a great life, comfortable life, surplus money if he lives below his means. And a person can make $130,000 a year and just burn through it, create bad decisions, and feel like he's living paycheck to paycheck. So we have to be really, really smart with how we ask these questions. If you don't give if you don't give these general statistics or requirements, at least be able to go into depth about it. Like, go into depth is important. Even with friendships, you want somebody to trust you and be loyal to you and have your back, but then you ain't trustworthy. You don't have their back. You say, girl, they got nothing to do with me. So when something happens on your side, she should say the same thing. So again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What I ask of everyone in my life, and they'll tell you, if you know me, you know me. If what I ask of you, I can do in return. And what I ask of you, I will give to you in return. Again, back to symbiosis. You can have your expectations, but at least be able to match them or working towards those expectations. That's it. It's nothing crazy.
Yeah, and I think that we've gone towards the need for something, and the need for, like, the totality of a relationship. We all know that a relationship takes time to build, and to actually fully get, all that in one, that takes time. That's not an instantaneous thing. And I think that older generations, what they valued and how they viewed friendships and marriages, they viewed it as more of a permanent thing, lifelong, long lasting.
Yep.
Nowadays, people want that immediate emotional, spiritual, and intellectual gratification. And they want it, in a
Right
blink
now.
of an eye. And once they realize they can't get that, disappointment sets in. And now they're off to go and try and find it someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be a cycle that you'll never find unless you can stay where you're at, stay with that person, and build those things. Then that's when you can get somewhere. But this mindset of just it being instant and all of that, that's not realistic. And if you've convinced yourself that that's a realistic thing, then you definitely have a lot to reconsider and a lot to think about. Because, again, all great things take time.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I see it.
And you're right. And I do think when you have, so let me give you this analogy. You have fast food and you have home cooking, right? I can easily go to Jack in the Box or Burger King or McDonald's, and I can order burgers and the fries. When I order something that's already pre-made, I had no input in how that thing is made. So how it is presented to me, how it's given to me, I must accept it or reject it. I can either, ask for my money back, or just bite the bullet and devour it. But if I had hand in building that thing, if I had my ground beef and I, garlic powder, onion powder, seasoning salt, and I'm sazon, and I'm making my burger, and I'm putting what I want in it, and I cook it for how long I want to cook it for, and I put the veggies and the buns and all the good stuff. I have a hand in making it. So if it's made to my specifications, and I enjoy it better, and it's more filling, and it's healthier for me, I say all that to say, when you want a finished product, a woman or a man that's already complete, that's already where you want, a six-figure, nice body, nice this, all that good stuff, you don't know what that person had to do to turn into that. That person could be the most evil person in the world. They could be the most cutthroat person in the world. You had no idea. But if you meet someone on your level, let's say you meet somebody in college, and y'all are growing together, y'all take the chance and say, you know what? We're going to sacrifice for one another. We're going to build each other up. Y'all pour into each other. Then when you and him become the men and women you want to become, you know exactly what you're getting. You're not surprised. But no, you want it already done. Like we want the easy way all the time. The easy way, sometimes it leads to bad situations. But they say, wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. So all I'm saying is sometimes you must take time to get to know someone, to help build someone, and help someone build, and that person help you build yourself up, so that when y'all reap the benefits of that cultivated relationship, personal and professional, it's so much more fulfilling. It's so much more rewarding when you have it like that. So even though it might go through one ear and come out the other, I promise you, for those who actually want to hear what the Bible say, for those of you that have an ear, let them hear what the word of God is trying to say. So, if for all those who have an ear, let them hear what Quentin Aquino is trying to say. We're not gurus in any regard. Lord knows I'm a divorcee. I've been divorced before. So I've been through it. I'm telling you what I've learned as an almost 40-year-old man. So that's my take on it. I hope you guys have a wonderful, amazing day. Thank you for tuning in. Please share, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace out.